Welcome to New Detroit's Town Hall, Content and Conversations on Race in partnership with Bridge Detroit. I am your host, Marshall Favors, Project Manager for New Detroit. New Detroit is a nonprofit organization that works to eliminate racism and create a more just society in metropolitan Detroit. To learn more about our organization, please visit us online at newdetroit.org. Well, today's topic is about voter preparedness and voter suppression. I have the opportunity to introduce our moderator, Heaster Wheeler. Heaster was appointed in January 2019 to Assistant Secretary of State of Michigan. His duties include serving as a champion for Michigan's new voting rights and service as Chief Elections Officer and managing driver and traffic safety issues. He's an entrepreneur and founder of Heaster Wheeler Speaks, where services include community leadership and engagement, government affairs, and public speaking. Mr. Wheeler has been employed in many positions that directly enhance the betterment of people, including Black Family Development, Inc., as Chief Innovation Officer, Assistant Chief Executive for Wayne County, and the former Executive Director for Detroit Branch NAACP. Please welcome Heaster Wheeler.
Marshall, thank you so very much. I am happy to be here and happy to be a part of this important conversation. A lot is going on. I'm particularly pleased that we've got Sister Rana. If I say your last name, is that correct? Elmir?
Elmir, yes.
Elmir, I'm so sorry. Yep. Rana, thank you for with us from the ACLU and my main man, Hassan J. about voting. This particular election season is unlike anything we've experienced. So many things are happening across this country and across this world. In addition to this COVID-19 affliction, the landscape is radically different. I wanted to just highlight a few things about Michigan's new voting rights. And then I want both of you to just sort of react or just highlight things that you are thinking and things that you have going on, initiatives that you are managing specifically related to being prepared and concerns you might have around voter suppression. So Michigan, we are on track here in Michigan to register, to have no less than 8 million registered voters out of 10.5 million residents here in the city, in the state of Michigan. We expect 5.5 million people will cast a ballot on the way to election day. We anticipate some 3 million will participate via the absentee process, and another 2.5 million will likely go to the poll. We've already seen over 1.5 million ballots returned. There is an energy unlike anything we ever experienced. And you heard me reference Michigan's new voting rights, no excuse absentee voting, same day voter registration, automatic voter registration. Those are game changers. In fact, here in Michigan, we have an opportunity to go from worst to first. We can improve voter access in some significant ways. We're really encouraging the use of drop boxes, and we're encouraging the use of this new technology called ballot tracking. It's not that new, it's new to many of our communities, but Michigan is home to some 1,500 clerks, and the Secretary of State, if you don't know her, you want to get to know Jocelyn Benson. She is absolutely a dynamo, and it is my pleasure to work with Jocelyn Benson. Jocelyn is so deeply committed to democracy and voting rights, and I'll just say a couple, 3 things about her real fast, just as a reminder. First of all, I think if you know her, you know she's a jogger. She runs 3 miles every day, Hassan, 3 miles every day. She runs at least 2 marathons every year. But to show you and to highlight what's really in her heart, as an example, on the day that Congressman John Lewis took his final salute across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Jocelyn Benson, at her own expense, without fanfare, flew to Alabama, and she was actually standing at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge to salute Congressman John Lewis. And that is simply a reflection of what's in her heart, and that also helps to hopefully help you to understand why it is my pleasure to work alongside this Secretary of State. She's committed to service as our Chief Elections Officer. She is committed to promoting democracy. We have implemented a ton of initiatives to help make sure that this process works well and improves access for a lot of people. So I just want to put that out there as in the form of a landscape. Rana, Elmir, ACLU you told me earlier, 14 years. And let me tell you this too. The reason, I love the ACLU for a lot of reasons, but I used to tease Carrie Moss. One of the reasons I love the ACLU is because you sue everybody. And I just think we've got so many issues. We've got so many challenges. We've got so much inequity and so much unfairness. I think we should take people to task. When you violate, I think we should take you to task. So I appreciate your leadership and the role that you play across this community. But talk about voting and talk about any concerns. And Hassan, I want you to be ready because Hassan, when I read a little bit about your bio, you've helped take access from as few as 11 programs to over 100 programs and services that you provide. And you've got a bunch. You started off in one location. I believe you have over 7 locations now. Access, is that true?
We have 10 locations now.
10 locations.
Including Macomb, Oakland, Detroit, Hamtramck. Detroit is a focus for us now. And in Dearborn.
Awesome, good stuff. I think our world is better because of ACLU, and I think our world is better because of access, and obviously I think the work that we do at the NAACP is so very necessary, probably more necessary now than ever. So, Rana, tell me what's going on with the ACLU. How are you feeling about voting and readiness and suppression?
Thank you so much, Heaster, and thank you for including me in this critical conversation at this critical moment in a critical state. For our election. I have to tell you, I am energized. I am excited about this election because of so many of those statistics that you rattled off, those numbers that you rattled off. We're looking at historic turnout, and we're already seeing the promise of Proposal 3 realized. Yes. These numbers didn't happen by accident. This is because voters who are sick and tired of a dinosaur of a voting system in Michigan came out to vote and said, we need to make sure that voting is more accessible in Michigan. And you're absolutely right. We went from last to first when it comes to modernizing our system. And so at the ACLU, one of the things we have done is we have brought together more than 100 partner organizations, nonprofits throughout the state that are working to make sure that voters know these new rights that they have and can exercise those new rights unencumbered, without interference, without distractions, without confusion. Yes. And we are so incredibly proud of this effort. And this effort has taken, it's just so incredible how creative folks are being, from murals on the side of buildings all throughout the state, to radio ads, bus ads, to launching a hotline that is staffed in Michigan by Michigan legal professionals who understand the law, to ensuring that, and then these the occasional lawsuit as well. I have to say,
it comes with the territory. That's right. It
does. I will say I don't think we've ever sued someone who didn't deserve it. So we're I think in good shape. But in addition, the reason why it's so beautiful that all of these organizations have come together is each of these organizations has a special partnership with the communities they serve, and they are speaking directly to the people, meeting eligible voters where they are and ensuring that they understand they could vote at any time 40 days before the election.
That's right.
By absentee or in person at their clerk's office, submit their ballot in a drop box or drop it off to their clerk. They can register, apply for an absentee ballot, submit their absentee ballot, all in one visit to a clerk's office. That has never happened before, and we should be so proud of that.
That's awesome, good stuff. Awesome, good stuff. This is a new political landscape. Hassan, talk to us about voting and readiness, preparation, and then we're going to come back to the issue of suppression and things that we probably need to be doing more of. Hassan, what's going on?
So before I do that, you know, Heaster, it's always a pleasure being in your company.
My man. Yes, sir.
Your energy, your commitment, you just send this positive energy that we all need.
My man.
So thank you.
I appreciate you too, sir. It's mutual. Thank you.
And also we really have to recognize New Detroit and invitation for us to do this. If you don't know New Detroit, it's been all about racial equity. It's about filling the gaps, and we need this now more than ever. We need this leadership. And I also have to say that Jocelyn Benson has been such an impressive, courageous leader. This decision to ban arms, and we'll get to this in a minute.
Yes, sir.
It really shows how far she would go to protect people's rights to vote,
Yes,
and to make sure that we do this in a safe environment,
yes, right.
and in an conducive environment. So listen, everything now is on the line for us. No one can afford to be on the sideline.
On the sideline, that's right.
But I mean, we all have to make sure that all of us are involved. People died, people were lynched to secure the right of people to vote. Everyone.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this, Hassan. I love your passion too, my man. The fact that people died, does that still motivate the next generation, younger people? I mean, I'll give you an example. My dad, both my parents were from Mississippi, and my dad used to describe what it took to vote in Mississippi. They voted out at the country store, and whites with shotgun racks and rifles would line up with their pickup trucks. And it was a very, very intimidating experience. And my dad said many of the local residents in that part of the South would not vote because they did not want to be subject to that kind of intimidation. And a lot of people did get killed. A lot of people did die. A lot of people had to pay the poll tax or take those literacy tests. So I'm motivated by my father's legacy to uphold voting. But do you hear that? Are you feeling that from young people? Are they motivated in the same way?
I do, Heaster. And I'll tell you this, the future is not looking very good for this young generation. There is a hopelessness there. We have responsibility to engage them. We need to be more convincing to them. I mean, we obviously need to remind everyone of the history, how we got there.
Yes, sir.
People who paid the ultimate price for us to have this right. But then we need to do a better job convincing young people why this is a power that we cannot give up on.
Absolutely.
Why this is so critical for us to continue. This is something we own. This is something that we have, and we can fight back with this. So that it's gonna take more of effort on our side to convince young people. And I understand their frustration. Sometimes I'm there with them.
Yeah, right.
But I never question their intention and their love for a better society for all.
Rana, why do you think suppression is real when some young people aren't recognizing how important this power moment is? But the people, who are these mean-spirited people who would dare suppress our right to vote in the first place? And what is their motive?
So I'll start by saying that suppression and intimidation takes many forms.
Yes.
It can be intentional and it can be unintentional through misinformation
Yes.
that folks don't even know is misinformation. And so we're hearing this heated rhetoric at the highest level of government. And that has people concerned. But the best antidote, I love the title of this conversation. It's preparedness and suppression.
Yes.
Because the best antidote to voter suppression, to voter intimidation is being prepared.
Yes.
Having a voting plan, knowing what your voting rights are, so that when there is misinformation, again, intentional or unintentional, your spidey senses go up.
Yes.
You know to ask questions. You know to go to the Secretary of State's website, mi.gov/SOS, or I'm sorry,
That's
/vote.
Yeah,
Got it wrong.
You'll get that. No, you'll get there. You'll get there like that.
Or our coalition website, michiganvoting.org, that has clear information for all voters. Intimidation, to be very clear, is any behavior that attempts to dissuade someone from voting or attempting to vote.
That's right.
And also, let's be clear, this is illegal.
That's right.
And it can range from misconduct by poll watchers and challengers, or it could be, as Hassan already alluded to, those guns at the polls, or misinformation. We have to recognize that these things are out there, but
That's
also know that every election official and every organization that is on that list for MichiganVoting.org is prepared, is talking, is planning.
That's correct.
And similarly, we're asking voters to plan. The good thing is, as I mentioned earlier, and as both of you have alluded to, there are more options now than ever for voting. If you are concerned about going to the poll in person, vote absentee, vote in person at your clerk's office. You have options now. We don't have to vote in the exact same way that we did, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, and so on and so forth. I will say we're not recommending that folks mail their ballot in, but to drop it off at a secure drop box, or to drop it right off at your clerk's office. You can, as I said, fill it out on the spot, turn it in at the time.
That's right.
And you can even register at the spot.
So what's the concern about mail? Why do you say you don't recommend people mail their ballot?
At this point, we're 2 weeks out from the election. We want to make sure that every single one of those ballots is counted. And right now, unfortunately, the law in Michigan is that ballots will only be counted if they are received by 8 o'clock on election day. So we want to make sure, we want to make sure that your vote counts. And there are many options. There are many ways that we can ensure that. And the best way to ensure that is hand delivering it to your clerk if you're going to vote early, or in one of those drop boxes.
Either one of those drop boxes. And I do know that we've got some 1,000 plus drop boxes around the state of Michigan. So that's very, very helpful information, Rana. Hassan, have you seen any suppression activity? Is there something we should be ready for? Or what is it that we need to do more of to ensure that suppression does not become real?
I have to tell you, Heaster, I'm much more concerned about immigrant communities.
Yes.
And minorities. It's looking more and more that African American, Latinos, immigrants are the target of the misinformation.
That's right.
And especially when it comes to questioning who can vote. Even if you were a naturalized citizen, that people are not sure if they can vote, and they are citizens and they can vote, obviously. Yes. But we also have to we have to take into consideration, Heaster, that many of these immigrants came from oppressive societies.
That's right.
This was not, voting was not an option.
That's right.
So we are hearing misinformation. We are hearing about intimidation when people go. We are concerned about availability of bilingual support at the polls.
Yes, sir.
And we are even hearing that some poll sites are not ready dealing with the pandemic, the virus,
Yes, sir.
and all of this. So we want to make sure that we engage our community daily, talking to us if they are hearing misinformation, and providing the information that you providing us and the ACLU and other coalitions are providing us. We are trying to speak people language, Heaster, so this is simplified and direct. We are committing ourselves to do 50,000 calls to make sure people understand that they can vote, where they can vote, what does it take for them to vote, and we're going to ask if they need any help in the process.
So
we also recruit in bilingual poll workers.
That's so very necessary. So very, I believe the greatness of America is the promise of America. The fact that everybody can embrace this dream. Why are groups targeted though? What is going on in the hearts and minds of some Americans who think that their success is measured by their ability to put other communities down? What is that about? Rana, do you have a reaction to that? Why is racism just as prevalent today as it has always been? We saw in the murder of George Floyd that the entire country erupted into protests and demonstration. And young people, those protests and demonstrations are being led by young people, black and brown, white and yellow and red. People are saying they want fairness. Why is there such resistance to fairness? What is this about?
I don't think this is a controversial statement, but it may be. But racism is baked into.
It's baked in. It's baked in.
Racism is baked into all of our systems. And what we try to do is address racism, but all we do is address the symptoms of racism.
Very good.
We don't get to the root causes. And so when we're thinking about poll taxes and those literacy tests, or even modern poll taxes like what's happening in Florida with returning citizens and them being forced to have to pay their fines and fees before they can be re-enfranchised. That is a system that is not just wrong, it is immoral. And we have to break down systems in order to be able to address racism. So it's not just in the mind of these individuals, it's in the heart. And once we break down the systems, we break down what's in people's minds, we break down what's in people's hearts, we make those connections for them, we'll address these systems.
Good for you. Hassan, you want to add to that?
Just, I mean, in the same light, and you know, even the civil rights movement did not finish the job.
That's correct.
The civil rights movement really dealt with the symbolic aspects of racism. It did not deal with the fundamental, with the systematic reasons for racism, including pay equity, including healthcare for all, including housing, including all aspects of life, including clean environments.
That's correct.
Including not poisoning African American and other immigrant kids in Flint and Michigan.
Yes, sir.
So all of this, we have to go back and ask ourselves how fundamentally, how systematically we can start removing these barriers to equity for all. And obviously there are these cultural issues.
Yes, sir.
That unfortunately became embedded in who we are. It's something that we're going to have to deal with.
Well, and the right kind of political leadership can move the envelope on both. You say embedded, and Rana, you referenced it's baked into the system. The right kind of leadership can help us rise above that immorality or rise above those emotions of hatred or. I was reading about a slice in history where the Southern strategy, you both are students of politics, and you saw how the Southern strategy was put in place almost exactly alongside the civil rights movement, or at least the highlights of the civil rights movement. If you go from the early 60s through the mid 70s, the Southern strategy was moving just as the civil rights movement, you say, Hassan, went after some of the symbolic challenges. The Southern strategy was pitting poor whites against blacks, saying, the Democratic Party was benefiting benefiting blacks, and they're going to come after whatever you got. And at the same time, in the North, there was a suburban strategy where the suburbs was pitted against the cities. So we got all of these factions. But how significant, and I'm not asking you who you're voting for, or who we should vote for, but how significant is the President of the United States at addressing this high ideal that there are enough resources for all of us, and we can overcome these feelings of race or racial discord? Is that significant, or is that at the local level? Is that the school board, or is that the local mayor, or is it the president?
There is a reason that why white supremacists are emboldened. And the reason is obvious. And if this incoming election is really a critical in terms of which direction we want to go.
I got you.
Society.
There is a reason. Rana, what do you think? I like that, Hassan. There is a reason why white supremacists feel emboldened. What's going on? How do we overcome this?
I think it's at every level. We need to throw everything we have at the problem.
Yes.
We can no longer, when we're looking at systems and systems change, it's not just about tweaking the edges. It's about really getting in there, breaking it down, and rebuilding it. And so we have to do this at every level, whether it's in government, whether it's in our families, personally. We have to interrogate ourselves when it comes to racism and our own views. And fundamentally, I think we have to, as Americans, reckon with this notion of the American dream, which in many ways is used as a sword, is not a shield for people of color, particularly Black people.
Yes,
and so once we reckon with that, once we understand that what we're talking about is an ideal, not a reality, I think we will start to address those changes and make those changes that are necessary.
I think that's very well said. And what's necessary is a full court press, not just nipping at the edges. It's a full court press. We have to be honest with ourselves. So I appreciate this conversation with the both of you. I appreciate the history and commitment of the ACLU and the access. You guys help so many people. And Hassan, you really ain't no ordinary brother. You're very modest, but you are very impactful. You make a lot of difference. And Hassan, you got that kind of personality where people know you're coming. Long before you get to the room, something is about to happen. and you look up and there, now you know what it was. It was Hassan Jabbar is here. So I appreciate both of you. I'm gonna ask you if you just want to make some wrap up comments relevant to Michigan's new voting rights and our need to maintain vigilance. We put out a couple of important websites. Michigan.gov/vote, Michigan.gov/vote. That's a very, very important website. And Rana, you said, what's your website?
MichiganVoting.org has everything you need. And if you do experience intimidation, suppression, or you just have questions about your vote, your ballot, how to vote, how to register, we're encouraging people to call 866-OUR-VOTE. 866-OUR-VOTE.
And we're using that same number to remind people, if you've got questions or any concerns, if you feel intimidated, 866-OUR-VOTE is where you can find resources. So I want to say a very, very special thank you. And Hassan, thank you for highlighting the leadership of New Detroit. I think that's very important. I applaud the young Michael Rafferty. He's the new president and CEO. And I've had the good pleasure of working with Marshall Montgomery, and now Marshall Montgomery favors. She's been at the
Marshall is still my favorite.
She's my friend also. She's awesome. But this is so important. So I'm gonna ask you guys to just take a moment. What motivates you to continue to do this work, and how? What is it what's the takeaway from a conversation about voting, voting preparedness, and even voter suppression? What motivates you? What keeps you engaged in this type of work? Hassan, you go first, and then Rana, then I'll try and have the last word.
You know, I work for a social service organization. I see what people go through, and I'm inspired by how people struggle every day.
Yes, sir.
To make life better. So this motivates me. This is what makes me optimistic. The human spirit is an amazing spirit. And I know that we will always strive to be better, and we should, and we can, and we just need to come together as a community and do it together.
I'm with you. Thank you for that, Hassan. Rana, what motivates you? Why do you stay in this fight?
I am motivated by the people that have come before me, the people that have risked their lives,
yes, sir.
People who have done the hard work.
Yes,
you know, in many ways, compared to the fights of history, we've got it easy in some ways. And so we have to be on those front lines. We have to keep doing that. And I want to retain my right to be able to complain. And you retain your right to complain when you vote, when you exercise your vote.
That is so very true. So that's a very appropriate way to conclude. I do think we can move from agony to action by voting. We can move from protest to power by voting. I'm motivated because I know that the very best way to predict the future is to create it. I know that my life is better because of the things that so many people who went before me, the things that they fought for. So I feel an obligation to keep reaching back and making a difference. So I want to say a very, very special thank you again to New Detroit and the leadership of Mr. Michael Rafferty and Marshall Montgomery Favors. Thank you guys for having us, and don't you dare hesitate to call upon us. Between the ACLU and Access and the NAACP and obviously the Secretary of State's office, we remain committed to fairness, democracy, and improving access for everybody. So both of you, thank you for your time, thank you for your commitment, and thank you for your energy and hard work. Is that fair?
Thank you, Heaster.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.